War II is over. The United States and the Soviet Union don't fully trust one another anymore. The once allies are now enemies. And even though we think that the post World War II era should be something good and that we should be free of conflict, remember, it doesn't always work that way. And there's a series of strange events that occur right after World War II that make people worry that World War III will follow soon after. And one of those happens in Iran. During World War II, Iran was considered a very strategically important area because of all the oil there. The nation had earlier been friendly with the Nazis, and so the British and Soviet armies moved into Iran during World War II to secure control of the country and make sure that they did not export oil to the Nazis during the war. Well, after the war's over, the British and Soviet armies are still there. Joseph Stalin is looking for an opportunity to branch out and make friendly governments to the Soviet Union and spread communism. And he sees an opportunity in Iran. If you look in the northern part of Iran, up there, it's on the left of your map. It's hard to see on this map, but there's a region called Azerbaijan. And Azerbaijan is it's got its own little ethnic group, even though it's not Persian. It's not distinctly Persian. They have their own little ethnic group, and the people of Azerbaijan were pushing the Iranian government for independence. And Iran's government was going to send in the military to put down this little revolt, this little rebellion here. Well, the Soviet army intervenes and stops Iran's army from doing anything. The United States and Britain saw this as a direct threat. They saw what Stalin was up to, that he's looking for a reason to expand his influence, and this was out of bounds considering what the United States and Britain wanted. And so the United States and Great Britain have to threaten to intervene on behalf of Iran's government, and the Soviet Union knows it's not in a position to start an all-out war, especially with its former allies. And so Stalin has to back down and allow Iran's government to conduct its own affairs. And Azerbaijan is not going to get its independence there. And the United States and the Soviet Union are probably pretty fortunate that they don't accidentally end up in a conflict over Iran in the first place. So that adds to the tension that already exists. All right, same year, there's another little problem that develops in the Middle East near Turkey. You see modern-day Turkey right here, and its proximity to modern-day countries of Ukraine, Russia, and Georgia. Those were all part of the Soviet Union back in the 1940s. And the Black Sea is obviously an immense body of water, but you also see right there, labeled on the map, there's a little narrow strait of water called the Bosporus. It allows access for ships to come and go into the Black Sea. It allows goods and services to come in. It's also a strategic point for military. Right next to it, you see the Bosporus more close up right here in the red area, and you see another little area highlighted in yellow called the Dardanelles. And those two bodies of water, Turkey had always maintained that shipping was a kind of an open type deal. Countries could send commercial ships to and from, and that wouldn't be an issue. But the Soviet Union sees an opportunity to try to spread its influence here. And once again, Stalin makes the claim that Turkey should allow the Soviet Union to control those two bodies of water, that the Soviet Navy should be allowed to control them. And Turkey, which had wanted to stay out of the fracas between the United States and the Soviet Union, finds itself in a jam. And they're going to need the help of the United States to push the Soviet Union away. The United States is going to insert quite a bit of funding into Turkey and move portions of the U.S. Navy into the region as a deterrent for the Soviet Union. And eventually, the situation de-escalates and the Soviet Union gives up their claim to those two bodies of water. But again, you get more tension here. The Soviet Union's kind of probing out to see what it can get away with and how it can expand its influence and protect itself. All right? The situation gets even more tense the following year in 1947 when civil war breaks out in Greece. Okay? After the Italian invasion and the German occupation are pushed out there, there's going to be a massive internal struggle. You get two groups. I know that you can't necessarily tell, but the dark blue in this particular map, that is the legitimate government of Greece, the monarchy. And on the other side, you have communist elements who want to establish a communist government in Greece. And of course, the Soviet Union would love to see Greece become communist. And so the United States and Great Britain have to step up and provide support to Greece to make sure that they do not fall to the Soviet Union. The Greek Civil War is important for a number of reasons, but it's major in world affairs. Great Britain was trying to help out the Greek monarchy on its own, but unfortunately, Great Britain was severely damaged in World War II as well. And so Britain has to definitively tell the United States, you have to take up support for the Greek monarchy because we don't have the ability, we don't have the money, and we don't have the manpower and the resources to be able to help them. And so the United States is kind of at a crossroads right here where it has to decide how much it's going to intervene in world affairs. After the 1930s and the isolationist movement, most Americans said we have to fight the threat of communism wherever it goes. And so the United States is going to provide quite a bit of money in the billions of dollars to help Greece fight the threat of communism. With American funds and personnel and some additional training, the Greek monarchy is able to defeat the communist element in Greece and win the Civil War. It also shows that the United States, once again, is going to step up and help countries fight off the threat of communism. After this, the United States and the Soviet Union enter into what we call a Cold War. Okay? Cold has nothing to do with the temperature. In this particular case, if it's a hot war means we're shooting weapons at each other and people are dying. A Cold War is when two countries are antagonistic towards one another and they try to block each other's goals and objectives, but they're not actually fighting and shooting one another. And so that's what you get in Iran, in Turkey, and Greece. The United States and Soviet Union are both trying to expand their influence, and they're both pushing particular groups in those countries. In Greece, it's the monarchists. With Turkey, we're trying to keep the Soviet Union from controlling key waterways, and Iran, we're supporting the government and the Shah, or the king there. And so we're trying to, it's like a big international chess match. And so the United States and the Soviet Union are constantly trying to irritate each other, but they don't really want to go to war because they know how deadly it would be. All right? Because of all the Soviet intervention in other places, the United States says, how do we deal with the Soviet Union and their desire to spread communism? And so we come up with a new policy. This policy is called the Containment Policy. The goal of the Containment Policy is to stop the spread of communism. If it exists where it is, that's fine. We can't go into the Soviet Union and get rid of communism, but what we can do is keep it from spreading to different locations. And we'll talk about the strategies that the United States is going to use to prevent that from happening in the next video.